Hello, how's everyone? I wasn't sure anybody would show up today because it's Mother's Day. So we may have a small group today, but that's okay. It just makes it more personal. So let me take a few minutes to say hello to whomever is here. It'll give some other people a chance to join. So let's see. I see Yvonne's here. Hi, how are you? Delilah, Jessica, nice to see you. Manchitis, I'm not sure if that's how I say it, Manchitis. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. I hope you've all had a very nice day. Hi, High Priestess, nice to see you as well. Oh, Jennifer, hi, you're here too. Hi. I had to change the time. Hello, Emerald Eyes. I had to change the time to 6 o'clock because I was out with my family for Mother's Day. We went out for a nice meal to Carrabba's. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to still do the live. I don't like to compete with other channels at this popular time at 6 o'clock, and I'm sure some of the really big channels are broadcasting as well, but that's okay. I'm just so happy that you guys are here. I really appreciate it. Veronica, hi, I see you. Jada Holler, I see you as well. Thank you for joining me. So today, I'm going to first talk to you all. Oh, Veronica, it's late there in the UK. Oh, my goodness. Hi, Carol. Happy Mother's Day. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about hybristophilia, which is the fangirls that Christopher Watts has. So many misguided admirers, and what that's all about. What are the psychological reasons why people do that? So we're going to talk about that. And then afterwards, I'm going to answer your questions. Any topic is fine. If you have questions, we'll do a Q&A at the end. So think about what you want to ask me and just post it in the chat. And it would help if you wrote the word question so I can identify it easily. I won't be looking at chat while I give you the discussion about hybristophilia, but after this discussion, I'll review the chat and go through your questions and answer them. Hello, Ronald, I see you. And Sandra, nice to see you. Oh, and I wanted to say, for those of you in my last live who did super chats, I wanted to thank you so much for doing that. I didn't know that you had done those super chats until after. Since I'm new to doing these lives, it's hard for me to try to figure out what's happening at every moment. So I wanted to give you a belated thank you and tell you how much I appreciate those of you that have joined one of my memberships, and those of you that were kind enough to send me super chats. I really do appreciate that. I was excited to be monetized a few weeks ago, and so I just wanted you to know that it means a lot to me when you do that. It's very much appreciated. I see some more people jumping on, so I want to say hello. Lip Skipper 3, hi. Sandra, nice to see you. Alicia, always nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Abu Bakar Ahmed, thank you for joining me. Very nice to see you, and thank you for your kind comment. I'm glad that you enjoy my channel. Heavenly Clouds, hello. So good to see you. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. If your moms are in heaven, if they've crossed over, I'm sure you've all thought about your moms today. My mom crossed over a very, very long time ago. She died in 1972. I was quite young, and I think of her often. Um, so let me take a look. I think I've said hi to everyone. I'm sure there'll be new people. Hi, Becky. Thank you for joining me. I'm sure some more people will come in. Hi, Carol. Oh, your mom died in 2019. Oh, that's very recent. I'm so sorry for your loss. And I hope you have a lot of really fond memories of her. Hi, Sherry. Nice to see you. Thank you for jumping on. Um, so for those of you who join after I start my, monologue, so to speak, I will say hello to you afterwards, and I will certainly answer everyone's questions. So I think I see I've said hi to everybody so far. So let's get into it. Oh, hi, Becky. Nice to see you too. Oh, oh my goodness, you lost your mom in February. Oh, I'm so sorry. If you want to talk to someone about that or process that, you're welcome to email me. I'd be happy to talk to you if you think that might help. It's hard moving through the grief process in the beginning. But just remember, grief is a place that we visit. We don't want to live there. So just know that your heart will heal. It just takes time. So let's get into it. Today we are going to talk about hybristophilia. It's a paraphilia, and the word paraphilia is Greek. It comes from the Greek words para, which means around or beside, like next to, and philia, which means love. And a paraphilia is an emotional disorder that is characterized by being sexually aroused in fantasies and urges and behaviors. And these are recurrent and they're intense. And they happen over a period of time, usually at least 6 months. And they cause significant distress, or they interfere in the person's life in a significant way. For instance, it might interfere with the person's social functioning, relationships, and other significant areas of functioning, perhaps employment. So there are biological reasons and psychological reasons and social risk factors for a person developing a paraphilia. And many of the paraphilias develop during adolescence, and they continue into the person's adulthood. And the intensity and the occurrence of the fantasies are associated with the different paraphilias, and they vary in each individual, and they usually decrease as the person ages. But by that I mean in the later part of their lifespan. Now, there are family risk factors for developing a paraphilia, and usually those are high amounts of conflict with parents, low supervision by a parent, a lack of affection from a parent, primarily the mother, and generally not feeling treated very well by the parents. So people with paraphilias have difficulty making and keeping friends and other types of relationships, significant others and romantic relationships. Now, in order for a therapist to make a diagnosis of a paraphilia, mental health professionals typically will do an intense psychological evaluation. We usually send the patient for a medical exam to rule out any physiological reasons for their disturbance. And usually we order some routine laboratory tests, blood work and stuff like that. Now, according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is also known as the DSM-5, there are a number of different types of paraphilias. And some of the most common ones that most of you have probably heard of are voyeurism, which is watching someone without their knowledge, and usually doing something that including maybe exposing themselves, disrobing, or engaging in some sort of sexual activity while they are watching the person who has no idea that they're being watched. Another one is exhibitionism, and that's when someone exposes themselves to unsuspecting strangers out in public, typically. Another one is called frotteurism, and that's when someone kind of rubs up against you in public without you consenting. This happens a lot on the subway, in crowded places. And a lot of the times when it happens, you think to yourself, was that intentional? Or, usually people don't say anything about it because they think it might be unintentional because they're in close proximity to other people, like on a crowded subway. Another one is sexual masochism, and that is the person enjoys being humiliated or hit, beaten, bound, or any other type of suffering. They enjoy that. And then there's also sexual sadism, and that's when the person enjoys inflicting the suffering on another person. And of course, the big one that we all know is pedophilia, and that's when it involves a child or a minor, someone under the age of 18. Another paraphilia is fetishism, and that's when the person gets pleasure out of inanimate objects, or a highly specific body parts, like a foot fetish. That's a popular one that people hear of. Another paraphilia is transvestism, and that's cross-dressing. And people, it's okay to do that, and people, it can be common, but it's a problem if it interferes with the person's functioning. Now, the paraphilia that we are going to discuss today is hybistrophilia, and that is a predatory type of paraphilia in which the person, typically a female, becomes sexually aroused over someone else committing an offensive or violent act. And there are two types of hybistrophilia, and those are passive and aggressive. The first type, passive, these people, well, when they learn about a notorious criminal, they will write to the criminal, and they'll get a lot of fan mail from their admirers. And the groupies or fangirls who write the letters, they don't want to take part in any of the criminal activity, but they're attracted to high-profile criminals such as Chris Watts. The women that become fangirls are often described as somewhat delusional, and they'll typically find excuses for the criminal's behavior, for the crimes that they committed. And we see that in this case of Chris Watts as well. There are a couple of them that are very adamant on YouTube that he is innocent. These types of fangirls, they'll develop a relationship with the criminal, and they often feel as if they are special. They believe that even though the criminal has committed some horrendous crime, such as murder, they don't believe that the criminal would ever hurt them. They believe they're special. They think they can change the criminal and rehabilitate him. They have what we call rescue fantasies. So these passive hybristophiliacs typically end up being seduced and manipulated, taken advantage of financially, and lied to by the criminals that they fall for, basically. Now, the aggressive hybristophiliac is the complete opposite. These people are willing to assist the criminal with their criminal activity. For instance, they'll lure a victim, they'll hide the body, they'll clean up the crime scene, they'll cover up the crime, they'll be an alibi for the criminal. And they are attracted to the criminal because of the criminal's violent behavior, and they want to be loved, but they don't understand that the criminal is a manipulative psychopath. And that is the case as well for the passive hybristophiliacs. Now, there are 4 identified patterns of hybistrophilia. So the first is a woman who pursues a romantic relationship with an incarcerated offender. The next is the woman that participates or facilitates the criminal behavior. The next is the woman that's sexually attracted to or satisfied by participating in the criminal behavior. And the last is the woman who pursues the relationship and is attracted to a serious violent offender, such as a serial killer. Now, it's important to understand that many criminals are characterized as narcissistic, psychopathic, and Machiavellian. And that those are personality traits that are often referred to as the dark triad. The psychopath's traits are commonly seen in the general public, and they may be too minor to notice, but in a criminal, the traits are much more pronounced, and they include things like selfishness, impulsivity, a lack of remorse or empathy, they're shallow people. They're very manipulative, and they're very callous. Whereas in the general public, we can see some selfishness and impulsivity and insensitivity, etc., but it pales in comparison to the severity that we see in the psychopathic criminal. Now, criminals like Chris Watts can be somewhat charming. maybe above average intelligence, and they're very good talkers. They're good at persuading. They think they're very convincing. Other criminals are described as being very unreliable, irresponsible, pathological liars, and very insincere. And like I said, they lack remorse and they have absolutely no shame. They frequently exhibit very poor judgment, and they seem to not be able to learn from their experience. And that's why we have so many repeat offenders in prison. They just don't learn from their bad behavior. Most criminals are impulsive. They're self-centered. They're selfish, and they participate in antisocial behaviors. And the behaviors can range from something as simple as a theft all the way to multiple murder. So these types of psychopathic criminals, they're not capable of love. They're not capable of loyalty. And they're not capable of making any permanent attachments to other people. And they're very dangerous in the sense that in a world that tends to run on mutual trust, which is what most people do, many people are easily deceived by criminals because criminals are very skilled at taking advantage of other people. Both of the passive and the aggressive hybristophiliacs tend to end up in abusive and unhealthy relationships. Now, why does this happen? Why do some people become hybristophiliacs? Well, there are several theories why some people are like this. And some people believe that hybristophiliacs are submissive victims, while other people believe that they're narcissistic enablers who are attracted to the power that they perceive that they gain by affiliating with these notorious criminals. Now, because physical access to notorious criminals is somewhat limited, most hybristophiliacs correspond with these criminals in letters and emails. Research tells us that many of these, what we call fangirls, are attracted to men behind bars because of the media attention that the criminal gets for the crimes that they committed, such as in the case of Chris Watts. Fangirls want to get close to the notoriety of the criminal and the fame of the criminal. And they believe, like I said, that the criminal thinks that they're special. But little do they know that the criminal has a laundry list of other women who he is manipulating and leading them to believe that they are special. And like I said, these women don't think that. They understand that the criminal may have committed some very serious or heinous acts, but they don't believe that the criminal would ever hurt them. So this in itself is a very narcissistic type of belief system, that they think that they're immune to being harmed by the criminal. Research also tells us that these fangirls want to get close to these violent criminals, so they can either participate in a fantasy life that involves the criminal, or they actually want to become partners of the criminal. The fangirls typically believe that a relationship with a criminal is preferable because the criminal can't cheat on them, or so they think. There's also a biological component to why they are attracted to these types of men. Fangirls typically equate forceful, aggressive men who are also charming to the ideal of masculinity based on power and roughness. So the fangirls may be responding to the overt manliness of the criminal who has committed some unimaginable crimes. They equate the criminal's violence with masculine strength, and they look for relationships with these criminals as a way to bring that type of man into their life. It's probably, or maybe not, surprising that many of these women are seemingly normal. And research tells us that most of them have a history of having been in abusive or violent relationships in the past. And even though they understand that the criminal's behavior is wrong, or morally wrong, they are somewhat delusional, and they have idealized fantasies of their relationship with the criminal. Most of the fangirls, they don't really know these criminals that they think they're in love with, because most of the interaction is in letters and emails. And even if the prison allows for in-person visitation, it's typically strictly controlled by the prison, and there's not a lot of time that they get to spend with the criminal. So the reality is that these fangirls spend the majority of their time fantasizing about how the relationship would be if the criminal were to be released from prison. So when these fangirls engage in these types of relationships, it's almost as if they're trying to rewrite history. They're trying to have a redo of their past, because most of them have been in abusive relationships. They feel safe because the criminal is locked up and they can't hurt them. And so this fantasized relationship with the criminal is safe to them. They don't feel that they can be harmed. And also, there's an element of control that needs to be considered. Now, if a woman has a relationship with a man behind bars who's serving a life sentence, or has been sentenced to death, has a death sentence, the woman has the control to decide when to make a visit, whether or not she wants to accept a phone call, whether it's like she becomes, in her mind, she thinks that she is the criminal's primary link to the outside world. And these women are usually completely unaware that the criminal is playing the same game with a variety of other women. So although these women think that they are in a powerful position with the criminals, in reality, they're not. They're being played because the criminal knows exactly what he's doing. Serial killers, in particular, tend to be very charismatic and intelligent. And they typically have an unlimited amount of time in prison. And so they use that time to manipulate the fangirls. They find out what the fangirls' personalities are like, and they also find out what their weaknesses are, and then they prey upon them. Some of the more famous examples of relationships that fall under the category of hybistrophilia are Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, who killed 13 people. A woman named Doreen Leo fell in love with him, and they were married at San Quentin prison in California. And to this day, well, not to this day because the Night Stalker's dead. Ted Bundy, on the other hand, is another infamous serial killer who murdered at least 30 people. He actually proposed to Carol Ann Boone while she was being questioned on the stand in the courthouse, in the courtroom. She was on the witness stand and he proposed. They eventually had a daughter together, but they divorced and she changed her name and pretty much has disappeared off the radar. Another infamous person is Scott Peterson. Within hours of being convicted, he had already received the first of many marriage proposals. Next, believe it or not, is John Wayne Gacy. He killed 33, at least 33 young men. And he has had women throw themselves at him. He even published a book with all the letters that he received from his fangirls while he was in prison. He even had an affair with a woman in prison who was so delusional that she believed that he was innocent of committing all of those murders. Now, speaking of serial killers, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Dennis Rader. He's the BTK killer, bind, torture, and kill, the BTK. And I've been corresponding with his daughter, and she has agreed to come onto my channel to do an interview about what it is like to be the daughter of an infamous serial killer. She's in the process of writing her second book. And so shortly before she releases that book, she's going to come on to my channel and talk about her life and her experiences and talk about her new book. Now, she did say that it is incredible to her that so many women write to her father, the fangirls. And she said that these women have no idea that he would kill them in a second if he had the ability to do so. So it just goes to show you that the reality of the malevolence of these criminals, these murderers, these rapists, it's dangerous. They are dangerous. They're still dangerous. and corresponding and engaging in a relationship with them is going to end up badly for the person who chooses to dance with the devil, so to speak. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to chat and take a look and say hi to people that I didn't see before, and then I'm going to answer your questions. Okay, so let me make chat bigger so I can see it. And I'm going to scroll up. All righty. All right. Diane, I didn't see your name earlier. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Natalie, you as well. Oh, Natalie said she can't stay, but happy Mother's Day. Let's see. Gail, nice to see you as well. Oh, she said Gail says that she hopes that every teenager takes the time to look at my videos. That's very kind. Thank you. Hello, Noni. I see you. Nice to see you. And Gail, I said hi to you too. Sonia, hello. How are you? Cece Clark, thank you. Happy Mother's Day. Jan, nice to see you as well. Baked cake, hi. Love your name. My daughter bought me a chocolate cake scented candle, and it really does smell like I'm baking a cake. It's amazing. Hello, Amy. Nice to see you as well. Anne, hi. Capri, thank you. Nice to see you. Happy Mother's Day. Hello, Stardust. Thank you for coming. Hello, John. Nice to see you. Zoe, hello. Factual Fairness, nice to see you as well. Blessed One, hello. Amy, I hope I said hello to you before. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Oh, you made it to live. Fantastic. Hello, Becky. Okay. Okay, I think I got everyone. All right. So now I'm going to look at the questions. Heavenly Cloud has a question, and she says, my ex-husband said he would kill himself if I didn't marry him. You were 17 and naive, so you married at 18. What personality was he? Unstable, controlling, manipulative, possibly narcissistic. Most people with borderline personality disorder do that. They always threaten to hurt themselves to get other people to do what they want. So he may have had some borderline tendencies, but without any history, I can't really, say for sure. But people with borderline tendencies do that. That's very common. Okay. Oh, Jordan, hi. I didn't say hi to you. I see you now, though. Oh, you're looking forward to the interview with Dennis Rader's daughter. Yes. Yes. And she has done so much healing. It was very traumatic to her and her mother. And she's trying to, continue living, Veronica wants to know, is it nature or nurture? There are biological components, but there are also components in the childhood that would contribute to this if they're not receiving any affection or a decent level of parenting. If there's a lot of conflict in the home when they are children, those things can also contribute, but there is indeed a biological component as well. Usually these fetishes, these paraphilias kick in right around adolescence, and somehow they make the connection between their coming of age and experiencing perhaps their first sexual release with a particular scenario. So it kind of connects it for them. And so going forward, that's what they're looking for. So it's a complicated mix. And some of the paraphilias are harmless, and they only become a problem if they interfere with the person's functioning. If they get fired because of they're participating in certain paraphilic behaviors. So it really depends on how much it's impacting their life. Factual Fairness wants to know, are some people born psychopaths? Yes. Psychopaths are born. Sociopaths are made. Sociopaths are created in childhood, and usually it's a result of extreme abuse or neglect. Then they develop the sociopathic tendencies, whereas a psychopath is inherited and it's organic. There's something in their brains are not the same as other people. And there's been a lot of research studies that show the brain imaging, and it shows the physical differences in the brain. So yes, psychopaths are born. I'm looking for more questions. Oh, goody girl. Hi. I didn't see your name earlier. Your mom fell in love with an inmate who was incarcerated for murder and married him when he got paroled. Wow. Well, maybe this discussion tonight maybe gave you more of an understanding of how that relationship may have developed. I hope she's okay. Okay. I agree, Factual Fairness. Empathy does make us human. But sadly, there are some people, narcissists, they have no empathy, none at all. I think that's one of the things about Chris Watts that to this day, people can't wrap their head around. They really do think that what they see in all the videos of him pretending to be a good father and that he loved his girls, he did not. He did not love his family. He loved what his family provided for him as far as narcissistic fuel. That's what he loved about the family because it supported his mask, the mask that he wore. Oh, Jessica, you're going to email me. Great. Excellent. Okay. I'm scrolling back down to see if I catch everyone's questions. I feel so bad when I miss someone's question, and it's not intentional if I don't catch your question. It's just that I'm still trying to get used to this, doing lives, etc. Carol has a question. She says, can a head injury cause a person to become a psychopath? A head injury, depending on the portion of the brain that was damaged, can completely change a person's personality. There have been a lot of studies where a person who was a kind, nice person sustained a head injury, and then they became a very angry and aggressive person. So yes, a head injury can cause a person to behave differently. I wouldn't say that it could cause them to become a psychopath, but it can significantly change who they are, their personality, their behavior. They can indeed become aggressive, depending on the part of the brain that's been damaged by the head injury. I hope that answers your question. Yes, factual fairness. Chris Watts is, in my opinion, a textbook psychopath. Yes, I truly believe that. High Priestess wants to know how you can tell if your partner is a psychopath. You know, there are a lot of successful psychopaths in society. They're usually the CEOs. They're the people in politics. They're the ones that are running the show, so to speak. If your partner, it would depend on what kind of behavior your partner is demonstrating. If they're showing antisocial type of behaviors, a callousness, a disregard for the rights of others, disregard for the legal system, you know, things like that, antisocial types of behavior, then you might want to look into that. But not all psychopaths are dangerous, and not all psychopaths are serial killers. It just depends. It's kind of on a spectrum. Sort of like narcissism, you know, there's the low end of the narcissistic scale, and then there's the malevolent end of the narcissistic scale. So it really depends on how severe is the psychopathy. Capri has a question. How do you know the difference between borderline personality disorder or someone who is depressed and has self-hatred? It's hard to know if they're manipulating you or genuinely need help and support. That's an excellent question. People with borderline personality disorder have very difficult times maintaining relationships. They're very high maintenance people. They usually engage in self-harm, such as cutting. They frequently threaten self-harm or suicide. They are indeed very manipulative. They are emotionally unstable, typically, and they usually have a history of some type of abuse in their background, whether it's sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, but something in their childhood contributed to the development of this personality disorder. Whereas someone else who is just depressed, who has low self-esteem, they wouldn't display the manipulative behaviors, the extreme drama that a borderline does. Borderlines are extremely difficult people to have in your life. Whereas someone that's depressed or with low self-esteem, they maintain relationships. Whereas a borderline doesn't. They just don't. They go through relationship after relationship. It's unstable, unstable, unstable. So that's one way that you can tell if the person you're dealing with is a borderline or just truly sad and has a low self-esteem. You can't fix a personality disorder. There's no medicine, there's no cure for a personality disorder. Whereas a major depressive disorder absolutely is very treatable and very manageable with therapy and medication. You can definitely recover from a depressive episode. And so, yeah. Crime Crime me a river. I love that. How do you think Cindy Watts can live with herself? In denial. She lives in denial, in my opinion. It's denial, and I think that whole family can't see past their hatred for Shanann to feel anything else. And I believe that they think that she's the reason he's in prison, not that he murdered his wife and children. I truly believe they blame her, and if it weren't for her, this wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't be where he is. They take no responsibility, and neither does he. Okay. High Priestess says, how can you tell if you're dating a psychopath? I was married to a narcissist because his mother teams up with him to try and get custody. I hope you watched my video on the narcissistic family system when you marry into that dysfunctional pattern of family system. If you're dating a psychopath, like I said, you'll see some maladaptive behaviors and some antisocial things, red flags. It may not be blatant, like they might not be running down and robbing the liquor store, but they may have they may make subtle references to a disregard for people's boundaries, for laws. They're typically very entitled. It's very similar, most psychopaths have narcissistic tendencies. That's the dark triad. And if your narcissist and his mother are teaming up against you, the war is what I would call it, a war. They're in it for the long haul. So you have to be smart, and you have to operate from not an emotional, don't react in an emotional manner. Stick to the facts and the things that you can prove, the behaviors that you can prove and document. That's what will help you in the war that they have waged against you. Take the emotions out of it, and document and be able to prove whatever it is that they're doing that is toxic. Becky wants to know if there should be support groups for fangirls. I don't think they know that they're in trouble. I don't think they know that it's dangerous. I think they think they're special, and that's kind of a little bit of a narcissistic trait, to think that, to think they're immune. And like I said, Dennis Rader's daughter herself said that the women that write to him, they really don't get it, that he would murder them in a heartbeat if he could. So, I mean, there is therapy for people who have this paraphilia. If they're willing, therapy helps, and they could use the 12-step approach to healing and finding a way out of this type of dangerous type of behavior, because what they're doing is dangerous. They just don't think it is. Okay. I'm looking to make sure I'm not missing anyone's question. Okay, here's one. Veronica, can a lot of rejection cause a person to have these sort of problems? You mean a paraphilia, like hybistrophilia? Yes, because engaging in a relationship with a criminal, you're not likely to be dumped. He's not likely to break up with you or reject you. And like I said, the women feel like they have a lot of control in the relationship. They really don't, but they think they do. So yeah, if they've been rejected in real life over and over again, they probably could seek out a criminal pen pal and develop a relationship, because the criminal, once he spots a target, he'll in a very calculated way manipulate and nurture that relationship so that he can benefit. Not that she can benefit, but for his benefit. But she'll think that he truly cares. And so, yeah, I can see someone who's insecure and has been rejected in the past falling for someone like that, a criminal. Okay. Okay. I think I I got all the questions. Factual Fairness says she thinks that some women are addicted to toxicity because that's all they know. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. They don't know what a healthy relationship looks like because they've never had one, and they create drama. And that's what borderlines do. It's all about the drama. Oh, I like this one. Crime Mia River says, do I think Chris hates his family? Him doing the meek voice always to him on the phone. I absolutely think he hates his family. I think he hates the neediness, particularly of his mother. It's an inconvenience to him. Most narcissists don't want to be bothered with the other person's feelings or needs. They're usually, a narcissist will get annoyed with you if you have the audacity to get sick. That's a very big inconvenience for a narcissist. And for him, all of that sniveling and crying that his mother in particular did with him, he couldn't get out of that conversation fast enough. And I truly believe that he only tolerates them because they fulfill a need that he has. If they didn't, he would discard them in a minute, in my opinion. Yvonne says she had a friend who at first she didn't realize was a sociopath, and when she realized what he was, oh, he almost completely ruined your life. Oh my goodness. I'm glad you figured out what you were dealing with. And that's what's so upsetting. People get entangled with narcissists. Ensnared is the word I like to use when it comes to a narcissist. They ensnare you. As same with psychopaths and sociopaths. And you just don't expect it because you are operating under the belief that people are nice, and you don't expect the malevolence that you will eventually see, hopefully, in the person. And they do leave a lot of wreckage behind. They all do. And that's why I keep saying Chris Watts is dangerous, and the people that are engaging in a relationship with him are going to be damaged. I guarantee you, in some way. They will either be financially damaged, he may damage their relationship or their jobs, etc. But the only reason he is in any of in any of those relationships that he's having with these pen pals, etc., is because of what those people can provide to him. It has nothing to do with him providing anything to them, meeting their needs. It's all about what they can do for him. And when their purpose is used up, he will discard them. As we've seen, he's gone through person after person, and so has his family. Okay. No, Sonia, not all psychopaths are murderers. My theory on Chris Watts. Good question, Sherry. I believe he acted alone. I think he murdered them all. I think he's completely capable of doing that. And the reason that I think he acted alone is it was so incredibly important to him what people thought of him. I don't think there's any way that he would have let another person know that he wanted to annihilate his family, because to him, they would not see him as the good guy. It was very important to him to maintain his mask of being the good husband, the good father, the good employee, the good friend. To let someone in on a murder plan, psychologically, he could not tolerate that, of someone else knowing the depth of his malevolence. Only he knew that. And I think he knew from a very young age. And that's why his mother would hear him praying behind closed doors. I think he knew his whole life that there was something about him that's not the same as the others. And I don't think he would have shared that secret with anyone. So yeah, I'm probably in the minority that think that he acted alone, but I truly think that he did. And I don't think it bothers him in the least. I don't think he loses a wink of sleep over it. I really don't. Oh, Yvonne had a borderline friend. I'm glad you got rid of that friend. Okay. Veronica says, a person who is very dear to me said he cannot recognize when people are trying what? Can you tell me what you think they're trying? He's trying, well, what does he think people are trying to do? While you type that in the chat for me, Factual Fairness wants to know, do I think that he may have killed before? If he were older, like further on in life, like Dennis Rader, he was killing for 30 years before he was found out. But because Chris Watts is not that old yet, I don't know if he had killed before. I think he's capable, and if the right circumstances presented themselves, I think he would have. But there's no evidence to support that he had. But I wouldn't be surprised if we figure that out, if we eventually learn that. Okay. Gail says, can narcissists and sociopaths be healed? The lesser narcissists, if they recognize that their life is going off the rails and things aren't working, and they're interested in changing some things about themselves, then intensive therapy can help, not cure, but help them change some of the behaviors that are not working for them. Sociopaths, Sociopaths are not very likely at all to even look for help. Same as a greater narcissist, one that's very malevolent, or those narcissists don't look for help. They don't think there's anything wrong with them. Sociopaths need a lot of therapy because they're very, very damaged people. So I would say that they can be helped, but will they seek help? Maybe not. High Priestess wants to know, how can I protect my daughter in court against a psychopath narcissist person? Document the behaviors, show proof. Whatever that psychopathic narcissist is doing, every little thing that you can document, do it. Get as much proof as possible. Get a Ring doorbell, get cameras, screenshot text messages, record phone calls, do whatever you can to provide a mountain of proof. And that should help, because narcissists and psychopaths, they will lie and can appear to be very convincing. So you're going to have to be able to prove the lie, prove that they're lying, and prove the behaviors that are destructive and toxic. Because if they truly are a narcissist and a psychopath, I'm sure that they're behaving in a toxic and outrageous way. Okay. Jan says she knew a kid who had severe frontal lobe damage in a car accident. Yes, the frontal lobe is where the emotions are, and your judgment. And he stalked you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, how dangerous. Very dangerous. That's so sad. Let's see. John wants to know, have I encountered many Chris Watts fangirls on YouTube? Yes. There are a couple of really popular ones that have been all over YouTube in the recent 6 to 8 months. You know who they are. Yes. And it's textbook. How they are behaving is really textbook. They have the delusion that he is not responsible, or only partially responsible, and they're adamant. And what frustrates me the most about those creators are that they present their information as fact, and it's really truly only their opinion. They cherry pick information from the discovery to support their belief system. And as a professional, I only operate from the facts that I have. That's why I don't buy into any of the conspiracy theories, because there are no facts to support that. I can only go by what is provable at this point. And the only thing that is provable at this point is that he acted alone and that he confessed multiple times. And the autopsies support my belief that that the girls died at Cervi, and they absolutely did not go into those tanks alive. And I hope you saw my my appearance on the other channel when I debunked that horrendous scenario that was out there on the internet as well, on YouTube. Okay. I'm going to scroll back down and see. Hello, Thor. What? I know. Mommy's busy. Yes, I'm busy. You know, Thor, he has to make his cameo appearance. Oh, he licked my nose. Okay. I'm trying to find the other part of the question from earlier from Veronica, because she wanted to know he cannot recognize when people are trying. And going back to Crimea River, that meek voice and that vocal fry that he uses in his interviews is another manipulation. Vocal fry is when a person talks in the lower registry of their vocal cords, and it's intentional. And the intention is to sound more sincere and more believable. And it's just part of his mask. He thinks he's being very convincing in that way. The same thing with his meek behavior, particularly in the body language in court. Do you remember seeing him? He was all, head down, real small, trying to shrink in his chair. That too was a manipulation. And it was also, he was so ashamed by being exposed in court the way that he was. That's why his leg was going a mile a minute. He couldn't get out of there fast enough because he was so uncomfortable being under the glare of people knowing what a monster he is, that people could see behind his mask, and it made him extremely uncomfortable, and he wanted to disappear into the chair he was sitting in. Okay. Yes, blessed one. Cindy saying that she doesn't care what you did, Christopher. I think that in my opinion, I think that his mother has a lot of narcissistic traits, and she goes to a great deal of trouble portraying him as the perfect teenager. Remember in her first interview? It was all about what a good boy he was, and he was in sports, and he won trophies, etc. And she was doing that because it made her look like a terrific mother. It really didn't have anything to do with being proud of him. All she wanted to do was to communicate to the world what a good mother she was. And so her saying to him that she doesn't care what he did, again, reflects on her, because as long as he's not the monster that annihilated his family, she gets to continue to believe that she is a good mother. That's why she said that. That's why they live in denial. The family, his family. Lisa, I love your comment. He wasn't crying for his family. He was crying for himself. He was crying for the situation that he found himself in. That's the only tear he shed. It was not for his wife or children. It was for himself. Okay. I think I got everybody's questions, I hope. If I missed anyone's questions, I'm really sorry. I tried to look at all of them in the chat. So, oh wait, Kara has a comment. that we really don't know what happened. The Watts, Tammy, Freemason, Luciferians. Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about the Freemasons. And like I said, I can't speculate. I just can't come up with any kind of, I can't buy into a theory that's not based on the evidence that we have at hand. And that's just the coroner in me. If I had evidence that supported a different scenario, then I would be open to that. But right now we don't. So I can't really say. Sherry wants to know, does Chris have any capability of loving anyone? No. Narcissists are not capable of love. They mostly feel shame and self-hatred. Those are the two emotions that a narcissist feels. And if you trigger those emotions in a narcissist, they will come after you. They will seek revenge. They'll harbor that resentment towards you for a very long time. And when the opportunity arises, they will get back at you. And even if you didn't do anything, but they think that you did something that triggered those emotions in them, they will seek revenge. So it's really a dangerous scenario to be involved with a narcissist. Oh, Gail wants to know, is Thor a dog or a horse? Thor is an Irish wolfhound. He is 230 pounds, and he is my guardian. He's my bodyguard. He guards the kingdom, and he makes me feel very safe. He's my big baby. But he's very fierce. So, you know, he's just awesome. Okay. All right. I think I got all of the comments. Oh, here. Hi, Sandra. She wants to know, do I think narcissists try to hurt people or just accidental collateral damage? It depends on where they fall on the narcissistic scale. If they're if they're really malignant narcissists, they're intentionally hurting you. If they're a lesser narcissist, most lesser narcissists don't even know they are narcissists. So it could be the damage that they cause isn't as intentional. But malignant narcissists or people on the higher end of the scale, they're intentionally hurting people because they don't care if they hurt you, first of all, and they receive narcissistic supply from you, whether you're upset and crying, or whether you're angry, or whether you're being nice and kind to them. All of that gives them supply. So the only thing that works with a narcissist is no response, no reaction. You have to go no contact if you want to get away from a narcissist, because they never really let you go. So you have to have strong boundaries, and because they don't respect boundaries, and they will always come back. They'll always hoover you for supply when their primary source of supply runs low. Then they go back to old relationships and try to get narcissistic supply. That's why they show up months and years later. You'll get the text or the phone call, or they'll ring your doorbell, and you may not have spoken to them for years, and boop, there they are, like nothing happened. They act like nothing's happened. They'll just pick up where they left off. It's really fascinating. Janessa says, do you feel like there's something bigger going on in Colorado? I think there's a lot going on in Colorado. I don't know if it's just a coincidence that so much is happening in that state. I'm not impressed by the investigation into the Watts case at all. Having been a police officer myself and then a coroner, I would be embarrassed if I had been involved in the investigation that was conducted. Let's put it that way. Now, I don't know about high crime in Colorado in particular. I do know that the top 3 states for serial killers are California, Texas, and Florida. Florida's number 3. Okay. Yes, Kara, dogs are God's most miraculous creation. And hairless cats. We can't leave out my Loki. Oh, John says a narcissist said to him that he would wait for years to get revenge. Yes, they will take a resentment to their grave. They really are that spiteful. Yes, John, I'm not surprised by hearing that. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay. I don't know why the FBI profiling unit doesn't evaluate him. Yes, they could learn from his case, but you know, I don't think that he is his crimes are not typical of what they look at. They're more interested in spree killers, serial killers, and mass murderers. And I've heard people, and I said this on my last live, I've heard other people say Chris Watts is a serial killer. He is not. He is not. He's a multiple murderer. Serial killers have to kill. The FBI just changed the criteria in the recent years. They kill 2 or more people with a cooling off period in between the murders. So Chris Watts does not qualify as a serial killer. But yes, they could learn a lot from studying him. Okay. Okay. Hi, Mock Droppin' Mom. Nice to see you. Happy Mother's Day. Okay, I think I got everybody's. Yes, Emerald Eyes. I do telehealth. I do teletherapy, so it doesn't matter where you live. I can do therapy in any state via telehealth. Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for taking the time out to join me today. I'm very happy that so many of you were able to tune in. It's so nice. Wait, Lola, what was your question? I didn't see it, hon. What was it? I'm going to scroll up, okay? I don't want to miss your question. If I don't see it, oh, here you go. I found it. Okay, Lola says, hold on now, I got my cursor in the way. Oh, okay, Lola wants me to look for her earlier question with 1 rose. Okay, I am looking. I'm still looking, Lola. While I'm looking for that one, Lola, Heavenly Clouds wants to know if I think he killed animals. Um, it's entirely possible, um, but um, one of the traits that we see in serial killers is that they are bedwetters into their teens, and that they are fire setters and they do kill animals. I don't have any evidence to support that he did any of those three. But if he were to do one of those three, most likely the thing he could hide the most would be the injuring of in killing animals. So there's nothing, you know, that says he did, but it's entirely possible. Lola, I am still looking. Um, I don't see it. I'm going to scroll back down, Lola. If I don't see it as I'm scrolling down, could you please type it again? I'm sorry. I'm looking. I did see the one that said to look for the one with the one rose. Sandra says, do I think his lawyers gave him the glasses? It's possible to make him look more innocent. I don't know. Okay. Jordan, I agree with you. I don't think law enforcement is involved in a cover up whatsoever. Um, but I do think that the investigation was lacking. Karen wants to know, why was there red blood on the sheet? Um, it's not blood. In my opinion and in my experience as a coroner, that staining is decomposition fluid. When we die and start to decompose, our body seeps a lot of fluid, initially through our nose and our mouth. And as we continue in the process of decomposing, we will seep fluid from all of our pores. And the fact that there was a coffin birth, that too contributed to the staining, in my opinion. Not blood. It's not blood. I've heard other YouTubers proclaim that it's blood, but they don't have the education or the experience to make that kind of a statement. And I do. Lola, I am still looking. If you could please type your question again, that would be great. Okay. Hi, Mo Beans. I didn't see your name earlier. Yeah, Lola, if you could just retype it. I don't see it. I hope you're still here. I know, Janessa, other people are saying there was no coffin birth. That is not correct. Just because the typed copy of the autopsy didn't use the words coffin birth doesn't mean it didn't happen. She did have what we call a coffin birth. The the buildup of gases in her abdomen pushed her uterus and the fetus. It prolapsed, which means it came out from inside of her, and that is a coffin birth. Oh, Lola, yay! I said something about they think they are convincing. Yes, yes, narcissists think they're very believable, and so do psychopaths. They are very practiced at manipulation, and they can come across as very convincing. And you have to really be on your game to be able to identify what you're dealing with. And usually most of us who have been ensnared by someone with those traits, whether it's a psychopath, a sociopath, or a narcissist, by the time we realize what we're dealing with, we've already been damaged somewhat. And then extracting yourself from a narcissist or a psychopath or a sociopath, you typically will be damaged as well, because they don't let go very easily. They don't let go without a fight. So it's a war to them, and you are a possession. And you don't have the right to make a decision or have any feelings or be sick or any of that. You're an inconvenience if you do that. And so once the narcissist or sociopath or psychopath, once they get a glimpse that you have peeked behind their mask, they will launch a campaign, a smear campaign against you like nothing you've ever seen. And if you didn't see my video on that, on the narcissistic smear campaign and why they do that, I urge you to watch that video, because it'll give you some tips on how to deal with that type of behavior, and also help you recognize it before it happens. But yes, it's very, very difficult to extract yourself from a relationship with a narcissist. It's usually very difficult, but it's worth it, because it may be painful in the short run and difficult. You know, you may have a legal battle, a custody battle, an ugly divorce, all of that. But it pales in comparison to spending the next decade upon decade with that person. So it's best to get out of it and go no contact and just go silent. That's all. That's really the only way to do it. That's the only thing that works. So, yeah, it's called no contact or a gray rock. Yeah, nothing. You just can't block their number. Get off social media. Don't let them stalk you. You have to make some changes. But in the long run, they'll move on to another target. But they'll always stash you in the garage, so to speak, and they'll pull you out when they need you, or they'll try to. But if you don't respond, then they won't get any narcissistic supply from you. It's very difficult to extract yourself from a narcissist. They are very nasty. So Lola, oh, I guess I answered it. Good. Yay. So, okay, I think that was everyone's question, I hope. Again, thank you all for joining me. And I want to thank you. If I missed anyone's questions, please feel free to email me. And if I missed any super chats or anything like that, I want to thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I think that'll wrap it up for tonight. I think I'm going to do my next video. I think I'm going to talk about the some of the things that what I call a checklist for identifying a narcissist. I think that might help people get a better idea of what they're dealing with before they get too deep into it, into a relationship with one. So maybe I'll touch on that. I also have several